Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Jessie Lal, and we are going to commence with our Fulton State, what we call the Expedited Accusation Calendar. This is a calendar in which individuals have been charged with one or more criminal misdemeanor offenses. Upon being booked at the Fulton County Jail, the case was already reviewed by the prosecutor, which is the Solicitor General of Fulton County, and they have accused the defendant of one or more criminal offenses. Based on these accusations, the case is now with the state court, and this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call your case, I will let you know what is your accusation number, what are the charges of which you've been accused, who is going to be your attorney, unless you already have retained one, and also what is going to be your bond, unless one has already been set. I will also consider modification of any previously set bonds. The next court date for some cases will be November 17th, 2022 at 9 a.m. in courtroom G33 at the Fulton County State Court. Again, the reset date is July 17th at 9 a.m. in courtroom G33 at 160 Prior Street.
Judge, November the 17th. You said July.
Did I say July? I'm so sorry. I meant November 17th, 20.
It's okay. We're not trying to go back.
Thank you. Appreciate you catching me on that. Again, the reset date is November 17th, 2022 at 9 a.m. at 160 Prior Street in courtroom G33. Now, I'm going to advise the defendants of certain rights. I'm not going to keep repeating it on every case, but if you are a defendant who has been booked at the Fulton County Jail, please remember your rights when I address your case. The first one is the right to remain silent regarding the facts of your case. If you decide to tell us more about the facts of your case during the course of this Zoom proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. This is a proceeding that we are handling via Zoom. It's not only recorded, but also live streamed. So please be careful of what you say, because you could end up incriminating yourself and jeopardizing any defenses you may have. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one of our attorneys from the Public Defender's Office will represent you. I do not know if I have a conflict defense attorney appearing today. So with regards to those cases in which a conflict defense attorney is required, I will be setting a bond and resetting your case to November 17th, pending any other matters that intervene. So I'm just going to put that out there, but presently I do not have any conflict defense counsel available. All right, let's begin with courtroom 3. Who do we have?
We can start with 2 and then come back to 3.
All right, thank you, Bogle. Courtroom 2, good afternoon. Who do we have?
Position 14, Lee.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Ms. Melnick. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, so let's begin with Eric Lee. Eric Lee is accused of criminal trespass, willful obstruction of an officer, and possession and use of a drug-related object in accusation number 22 CR 007581B. And this is from a November 4th, 2022 incident. Mr. Lee, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss
Melnick.
Miss Melnick. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Lee, your attorney is going to be Miss Melnick. We are first going to hear about your GCIC. Ms. Harrison, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge. I have 11 cycles with history in Georgia and Texas. Last arrest was October of this year for disorderly conduct, willful obstruction of law enforcement officers, and criminal trespass in Atlanta, Georgia. That is an open pretrial case under case 22 CR 006781B, like boy. Pretrial is surrendering that bond.
And that's a $3,000 signature bond, correct?
I'm not sure of the amount, Judge.
I've just pulled it up, so
Oh, okay.
I see that. Thank you. All right, thank you.
oh.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. The other cycles and the other jurisdictions, please?
Yes, 2 DUIs in 2012, one in Fulton County, the other in Gwinnett. A 2015 aggravated assault, criminal trespass, false imprisonment. That was first offenders, and it does not indicate it was sealed. That was in DeKalb. One failure to appear within the past 10 years. Nothing further to add.
All right, thank you. Ms. Duncan, good afternoon.
Your Honor, as Pretrial indicated, this defendant does have an open case with the Fulton County State Court. And in that case, he received a $3,000 signature bond from Judge Morrow on October 10th, 2022. And the location for that criminal trespass, disorderly conduct, and willful obstruction is the same location at issue in today's case. So for today, the defendant was on the property of the Citgo gas station at 655 Cleveland Avenue after being told to stay away by this court back in October, but continued to come onto the property. The owner of the property flagged down officers and let them know that is Mr. Ndwima, and that's Nandwana, flagged down officers Parker and asked them to come and get the defendant off of the property. Search incident to arrest. Officers located a glass pipe with residue on both ends, and when they attempted to arrest the defendant, he began pulling and yanking his arms away from the officer.
Yeah, I got that part from the warrants. Do you know if the other case is set for trial? I don't see any progress yet in the other case.
I don't see any progress as of yet. That's why the state has some concern about the risk of reoffense here, because obviously he was just told to stay away from that location. We also have concern about the flight risk given the recent FTA and from 2022 and the likelihood of this defendant to respond positively to the legal process, given that we're back here, a little over a month later for the same incident. So the state is going to be requesting a $3,000 surety. That is a $1,000 surety per charge. No further contact with the store manager as indicated on the record. Stay away from that incident location. No alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing further from the state.
Thank you. Ms. Melnick, any particular reason why I should consider a signature bond?
Yes, Your Honor. My client happens to live in the area. He lives at 2601 Beater Drive. It's in the area, so he walks back and forth by the area. But he said this time he was not on the property. He does understand he's not allowed to be there. And we are asking for a signature bond on this case.
All right. A bond is set at $500 on each count. That's a $1,500 surety to stay away from the Citgo gas station. And this time, if he needs to get to his home, he just needs to take the long way about. He's not allowed to be within 200 yards of the gas station, his parking lot, or his sidewalks. And Mr. Lee, because of this new arrest, your signature bond from your previous case is canceled. So in order to bond out, it would be $4,500 with the same provisions to stay away from the Citgo gas station on Cleveland Avenue. You cannot be anywhere near it in order to you just need to take the long way around to get to wherever you need to be. What was the other? No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons, and to stay away from was it Nadima?
I believe that's how you said it, Your Honor.
All right.
It was, I can spell it for the record. Again, give me 1 second to go back up to it.
I think we got it from, oh shoot.
Yes, it's Nandwana. The clerk of the store, that was the last name that was provided on the information.
All right, thank you. And so this would be a $1,500 surety. And Ms. Lewis, we're going to reset this case to November 17th, along with the prior case 22 CR 006-781B. to the SAP calendar on November 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, ready in courtroom 3?
Yes, ma'am. Position number 5.
Thank you. This is Agatha Davis, accused of theft by shoplifting, willful obstruction of an officer, and criminal trespass from November 3rd, 2022 at a Walmart. Case number 22 CR 007-590A. And Ms. Davis, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim, unless you want to hear the GCIC, I really just need to know how many cycles she's got.
12 cycles.
That's good. Thank you. Ms. Delenia King, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
All right. I understand that she does have a prior incident from October 10th, 2022. I've read the warrants. I'm inclined towards a similar bond of $1,500 surety. Any objection?
You know what, Your Honor? That's fine.
All right. And Ms. Kim, why should I issue a signature bond? She was just released last month, and she's got almost the same charges.
Your Honor, she's pregnant right now, and she really needs to take care of herself and her 3 minor children. One of them is also a newborn baby, Your Honor. We would like to request for signature on bond because of the sake of those 3 kids and 4th one soon coming.
And I'm aware Your Honors are aware that on the October case, she received a signature bond, which she's violated with this arrest.
I agree. Her prior case was a signature bond through the jail. We're going to maintain that. But unfortunately, I've read the warrants. This is a situation that's quite egregious. Ms. Davis has blatantly disregarded the terms of the prior bond. And I am thinking of the children, and I'm really concerned about whether Ms. Davis was thinking of her children, and it doesn't appear so. Bond is set at $1,500. It's $500 on each count. It's a surety bond, and the case is reset to November 17th.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Judge, does that go along with the other companion case also?
Oh, yes, please. That would be 22 CR 006-775A on November 17th. Next case in courtroom 2, I believe.
Position 1, Adams.
Thank you. This is Karon Adams, accused of possession of dangerous drugs from November 2nd, 2022. Mr. Adams' case is 22 CR 007-582E. Mr. Adams, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Ms. Harrison?
9 cycles, last arrest, February of this year for purchase, possession, manufacture, distribution, or sale of marijuana and possession of firearm. That is an open case, 22 CP 206584. 2 misdemeanor convictions, 2018 criminal trespass, and in 2019 given false name. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant also has an open battery family violence from 2021 that has been upgraded to a felony as a robbery. He fortunately got the benefit of a 1,000 surety in that case. The case pretrial just referenced, he's out on a 15,000 surety and was released in September of this year. And just 2 months later, he's before Your Honor. The state is requesting a 2,000 surety in this case due to the 3 open cases he have. All 3 are felonies, and also the recent convictions. We're also asking for a stay away from the incident location of 2857 Main Street in East Point, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. We would like to request for a signature bond or just keep $1,000 surety bond that there is already there. I mean, Your Honor, even $1,000 surety bond will be no bond to him. He has been working as a cook. However, he has 2 minor children, 1 and 6, that he lives with, and also he has a father he has to take care of. He has a grandmother that he has to take care of. There's a lot of needs that he has, especially his father has a disability and that he's going through dialysis every day. And my client, who's 22 years old, is being a caretaker for him and his grandmother, who's also very old and disabled. We would like to request for a signature on bond or keep the bond at $1,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Bond set at 1,500 is a surety bond. Stay away from 2857 Main Street, East Point, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no consumption and no possession of such drugs. No alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Next court date is November 17. Thank you.
Thank you.
Position 12.
That's in courtroom 3. Yeah. Okay. This is Miss Kiera Yvette Jones, accused of simple battery in case number 22 CR 007-595E. This is an incident allegedly from November 4th, 2022. Ms. Jones, I've already advised you of your right to remain silent. Unfortunately, the Public Defense Office will not be able to represent you. This is a matter where we will have to contact the conflict defense attorneys and appoint one of them to represent you. So presently, you do not have an attorney, and one will be appointed to represent you as soon as that is, as soon as the conflict defense attorney is reached. Due to the nature of this kind of proceeding, we are going to proceed with the issue of bond because you are charged with a misdemeanor offense and you are entitled to a bond. So, Ms. Harrison, what are the priors on Ms. Jones?
4 cycles, last arrest, July of this year, probation violation in Henry County. Record indicates the defendant is currently on probation in Henry County, 19 CR 00385, forgery, first degree. Sentenced May of 2021 with 4 years probation. One violation of probation within the past 10 years, nothing further.
Thank you. I'm looking for the Miss Duncan. Okay, sorry. Yes. Ms.
This incident did occur, I believe, sometime early this morning at the incident location of 2176 Vesta Avenue Northwest. The victim in this case is Winston Harris.
Is it Winston Harris? I'm sorry, you broke up just now. It's
Yes.
Winston Harris, right?
Winston Harris, both
Okay.
common spelling. In this
Okay.
incident, officers responded to a dispute call at that location where they met with the victim. In this case, he indicated that there was a verbal dispute that turned physical with the defendant about living arrangements, and she took her hands and placed them around his neck and choked him. She indicated that she was going to beat his ass by yelling at him, and a third-party witness, identifiable witness, Corey Hopkins, stated to officers that the defendant in this case came up to him and told him that she had just choked Al, and Al is a nickname for the victim, Mr. Harris, in this case. Those are the facts. And in this case, since they do live together, but they don't indicate that they're in a relationship, we do have some concern about the risk of reoffense, given that they live together and this started over living arrangements. So we're going to be requesting a $2,500 surety, no further contact with the victim in this case, stay away from that incident location, 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Jones, I'm going to set a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services. You don't have to pay for your bond at the present time, but you need to sign up for it and you need to comply with the conditions of your bond.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, Your Honor. The victim is on the line if you would like to sound.
Sure. That was Winston. Are you present? Is there a Winston name? I don't see a Winston name. Who's the victim?
Winston Harris.
It says Winston. Sir, if you're on mute and speak to the judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry about that. I'm so sorry. It's lots of squares on my screen. All right. Mr. Harris, my name is Judge Lal. If you want to add anything, I need to place you under oath.
No, just what was said is good enough. I just need for Ms. Shakira not to return to the property now. and I'm putting
Well,
restraining.
if you let me complete with the conditions, I think that will satisfy your request. If you could please mute your screen, thank you.
Ma'am,
Please mute, yes, okay, that's good, thank you. All right, Ms. Jones, as I was saying, your bond is $5,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. You will not need to pay for your bond, but you will need to report to pretrial every month, and you need to satisfy the conditions and not violate them. The first condition is no further contact with Winston Harris. You're to stay 200 yards away from him. Do not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner, in person, through a third party, through a phone, computer device, or even on social media. You are to stay away from 2176 Westa Avenue. I believe it was, it's in Atlanta, Georgia. And you are to stay 200 yards away from that location and not return at all. You're not to consume any illegal drugs. You're not to consume any alcohol and not possess any weapons or firearms. Your next, within 30 days of being released from the Fulton County Jail, you are to come back to the courthouse at 160 Prior Street and let us know your current address and contact information. Do you understand? You must give us your new address. Otherwise, when we send you summons for your next court date and you don't appear, a bench warrant will issue for your arrest and you will lose your signature bond status. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You can return to 2176 Westa Avenue one time only with a police officer to retrieve your personal belongings. That visit cannot exceed 1 hour. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So as I was saying, your next court date will be mailed to you at your new address. So be sure to update us with that information. Thank you. And Ms. Lois, can we please make sure that this case is sent to Ms. Cardida for a conflict defense?
Yes, Judge, all of them have been aware of it. We just at this time, one was not available, so they are being specially marked and known.
Okay.
So we can have a conflict attorney for their next appearance.
All right, Deputy Bogle, may I get Ms. Jones' phone number so that the conflict defense attorney, whoever is appointed.
470
470,
890
yes,
8834.
8834. All right. So we're going to get in touch with a conflict defense attorney. When you come to the court to give us your new address, make sure that you request a conflict defense attorney unless you want to hire your own. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Bogle, you can call the next person, please. Thank you. And this would be
Position number 4, courtroom 2.
position number 4, courtroom 2. Okay. We have Maurice Deshawn Brown, accused of criminal trespass and misdemeanor possession of marijuana from November 3rd, 2022. In case number 22 CR 007588G. Mr. Brown, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim, we're going to first hear from pretrial with regards to his priors, if any. Ms. Harrison?
First arrest was July of 2021 for hit and run. Duty of driver to return to scene of accident, driving without a valid license, fleeing or attempting to elude in Gwinnett. No disposition listed on that arrest.
All right, thank you. Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is requesting a $1,500 surety in this case. That's $1,000 for the criminal trespass and $500 for the marijuana charge, and a stay away from the incident location of 178 Maury Avenue, Southeast in Atlanta. The state is requesting a surety bond in this case due to the defendant and another unidentified male breaking a window and making entry into a vacant apartment at the Villages at Carver apartment complex. there's an independent witness that stated she saw the two young men do this act, and they were actually able to identify articles of clothing to the officer that the defendant was wearing. The marijuana was found search incident to arrest, Your Honor. The state is concerned due to him having an open case, which he's out on bond for, and committing another offense which violates that bond, which makes the surety bond more than reasonable.
Thank you. Ms. Kim, on the criminal trespass, the bond is going to be $3,000. And on the misdemeanor possession of marijuana is $500. That's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services with a parent co-signer. Can you
Yes.
identify the parent who is going to sign his bond?
Yes, his father has the same name, Maurice Brown, without middle name. He will be the one who will sign.
All right, Ms. Harrison's taking note of that. It will be his father, Maurice Brown.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that they live together at the same premises?
No, his mother lives together. However, she does not have a car, so his father has to drive and pick him up.
Can his
The
father
bank.
drive his mother?
I don't think so because of the time frame, but I will double check, Your
All
Honor.
right, I'll need his mother's name.
Sheena Greer, Sheena. Last name is,
I'm sorry, Ms. Kim, I'm going to have.
She's on the line, Judge.
Oh, mommy's on the line.
Yes,
yes,
she
Your
is.
Honor, she's on the line.
And,
Sheena Greer.
oh, there she is. Sheena
Yes.
Greer. Okay. There we go. Okay. Ms. Harrison, amend the co-signer to Sheena Greer, please. All right, Ms. Greer, your son has received a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial services. I
Yes.
will need you to make arrangements with his father or whoever you choose to have you drive down to pretrial services and co-sign his bond. You will need to bring your driver's license or your identity card, any government issued document that identifies you as Sheena Greer. It must have your current address on that ID, and you need to bring some kind of utility bill for that location. I need proof with pretrial that Mr. Maurice Dashon Brown currently lives with you. Mr. Dashon Brown is subject to a 24-hour curfew. He is only allowed out of his home in order to attend school, to go to work, to seek medical treatment if required, if he wants to go to church, and to attend court proceedings or speak to his attorney. Those are the only exceptions in which he's allowed to step out of his home until further order of the court. If he steps out of a home for any other reason and he's arrested again, he will be back in jail and he will have to pay for his bond the next time.
His father,
Do we know the name of the co-accomplice?
I will look and see if we've gotten updated information. It will just take just a second.
All right. Ms. Greer, do you know the name of the individual with whom he was arrested?
no, but I do know that his father was already on the way down there.
Well, call him and let him know that it'll be a wasted trip. All right.
He gonna
No,
have
you're-
to-
All right. So, Ms. Harrison, once Mr. Maurice Brown shows up, please let him know that he's not eligible to co-sign the bond.
Yes, Judge.
It has to be done by someone with whom he lives so that he can be monitored in order to make sure that he doesn't get into trouble again.
But it'd be best if his daddy do it, for the simple fact that he can go stay with his dad, because it's the same complex. It's the same apartments.
We don't know that, Ms. Greer. All right, thank you. It's your son, Ms. Greer. Make sure you make the effort to have him released. If you want him to stay in jail, that the decision is entirely up to you. All right, thank you.
Okay.
His next court date will be sent to his current address, and I do apologize, I just lost that screen.
Your Honor, was Ms. Greer stating that the incident location is the same complex that she lives in and that the defendant will be living in? That is what she's saying, Your Honor.
That's
Oh
why he
my
need to go back to, he need to go
goodness.
with his father.
Okay.
Does his father live?
His father stays off of Kellner Road. It's not in these apartments. I stay in apartments where the incident happened at. It is no need for him to be out here. He need to go over there with his father.
My goodness, we did not know that.
Because that address
So-
173, my address is 193 Maury Avenue.
Well, we didn't know that was the same apartment complex, so that's good information to know. So 193 Maury Avenue is,
My apartment.
the 193 is an apartment number or a building number?
It's the building number. 193 Maury Avenue. My apartment is 14.
I see. And 178 Maureen Avenue is in the same apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am. It's
All
the
right,
big.
I do apologize. I did not realize that. So, yeah, I guess but if he has to stay away from the entire Carver Village apartments, that means he cannot come back and stay with you. My goodness, Mr. Brown has really worked himself into a pickle.
If he's
And
over
does he
there.
go to school in that area?
No, he catches the bus. He goes to Phoenix Academy because he's trying to catch up on his credit so he can graduate this year because he's in 12th grade.
And where is that school from his home?
Phoenix Academy, that's on Memorial Drive, so he catch the MARTA bus anyway.
All right. And where does father live, Mr. Brown?
Kellner Road.
And how far is that from his school?
They're both about the same distance. I say Kellner Road to Memorial.
All right.
To get to his father's house, it'll probably be like 10 minutes. Just like if you was in the car to get to my house, it'll be like 10 minutes.
All right.
'Cause
And
the school provides him a MARTA card.
And Ms. Greer, does Mr. Brown realize that his son will have to stay with him?
Yes,
He does?
yes.
Okay, in that effect, then we'll amend the cosigner. Ms. Harrison, I apologize, the cosigner, so sorry, you have to white out the information.
Okay, Judge.
All right, it will be Maurice Brown, the father of Maurice Deshawn Brown.
Yeah, because it's no need for him to be in the same apartment that the incident happened
I
in.
totally agree. I totally agree. He needs to stay away from the entire apartment complex. I'm going to allow you to make arrangements to pick up his personal belongings and have Father Brown come and pick it up because he's not allowed back at that apartment complex. All right.
Oh.
The curfew provisions still apply. He is still under a 24-hour curfew, and he's only allowed to step out for the reasons I've set forth.
No problem.
Okay. Miss Greer, do you know the complete address of Daddy Brown?
Hold on, let me call him.
All right. That's all right. Miss Harrison, once Mr. Maurice Brown comes to co-sign his bond, please, if you have a chance, get his complete address, and we can send that to Miss Katrina Lewis so she can update our information with regards to this.
Judge, is there a phone number for the dad?
Yes, I do. 404, shall I chat, Your Honor? I can chat it to Miss Harrison.
Yeah, send in the chat to Miss
Sure.
Harrison and then
Sure.
send it in the chat to Miss Lewis as well.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. That completes this case.
Judge, excuse me, this is Katrina. I just want to clarify the conditions. He's to stay away from the whole apartment complex, and the co-signer is his father, and a 24-hour curfew, only the church, school, work, and seek medical attention. That's correct?
He can step out for work, for school, for medical attention, and to attend court proceedings or speak to his attorney. And he's to stay away from the co-accomplice with regards to this case once that person is identified.
Also, since you're changing the father, did you notify him that he would need a bill?
I know he's
I'm talking
in
to
route,
his
so he's
attorney.
going to have to. I'm going to let you, Miss Harrison, let him know and then deal with
Okay.
it. Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you, Ms. Greer. Thank you, courtroom 2. We're moving on to courtroom 3.
welcome.
Could we have, please?
Judge,
Position 13.
13, thank you.
I'm sorry, this is Katrina. When we left position number 5, y'all never say what the conditions were on the young lady.
Position 5, Agatha Davis.
Yeah, I never.
Oh,
got the
stay
conditions.
away from all Walmart stores, no
Okay.
alcohol, drugs, and weapons.
Okay.
All, and then on the entire planet.
Okay.
All right. Okay, moving on to Miss Tamara Lane, case number 22 CR 007-594Y. Miss Lane is accused of reckless conduct from November 4th, 2022. Miss Lane, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Deborah Melnick. Miss Harrison, any priors, please?
Cycles out of New York. Last arrest was December of 2009 for disorderly conduct. That was a misdemeanor conviction. She does meet the criteria for UJR pretrial.
All right, thank you. Miss Duncan, excuse me.
Yes, John, this incident occurred at 8060 Adair Lane, apartment 2509 in Sandy Springs. This incident, discharged her firearm in her apartment unit, and the bullet went through the wall and made into her neighbor's apartment. Her neighbor is Renata Austin. That's RENEATTA, Austin, common spelling. When officers responded to Miss Austin, they did in fact locate the shell casing of the bullet that was discharged from the defendant's firearm. When they spoke with her, she ultimately admitted to firing the firearm. At that time, we do have some concern. We understand that this defendant does have limited criminal history. However, we have an extreme concern for the danger to the community that is presented when you are firing firearms inside of a home. Therefore, the state believes that a $4,000 surety is more than reasonable in this case. No further contact with Ms. Austin, no alcohol, drugs, weapons, or firearms, and no further violations of Georgia law.
Do y'all have any information if there's any kind of bad blood between her and Miss Austin, or was this just a random discharge?
Your Honor, it was random discharge.
Okay. Ms. Duncan, do we believe it's a random discharge?
One moment, let me make sure. Let me go back and check our victim advocate contacts for today. One moment.
All right, while we are looking into that, Ms. Melnick, what's your recommendation?
Your Honor, we're asking for $1,000 signature bond. She has no significant criminal history. She's been in Atlanta, the area for 11 years. She has extensive family here. Her son is 24. She is not a threat to society. And when I say this is an accident, it's an unfortunate accident. There's no bad blood. There was no one else in the apartment. She honestly was simply moving the gun. She immediately told the officer what happened. She owned up to it. It wasn't like she was trying to hide it. And she was just visibly shaken and is just very upset by this whole situation. So we are asking, given that, we're asking for $1,000 signature bond.
Your Honor, to clarify for the record, our victim advocate was not able to make contact with the victim in this case. And just to clarify the record as to what the defense has stated, it's indicated in the facts from the warrant, as Your Honor knows, that this defendant actually initially upon contact with officers was withholding information about what happened, but then eventually decided to confess that she did in fact fire the firearm in her bedroom that went through the wall, the bullet that went through the wall.
Understood. Thank you. The alleged firearm is a Glock 40. So I find it very difficult to understand how can it be an accidental discharge as opposed to an alleged negligence. So that's just my personal touch on the case. But in any event, the bond is set at $1,500. It's a surety bond. Miss Lane, unless you may know something about me, I never issue signature bonds unless it's extraordinary circumstances where firearms are concerned. I impose great responsibility upon anyone who owns or decides to handle a firearm. And under these circumstances, a surety bond is called for. A $1,500 surety bond, you are to relinquish possession and surrender them to the police of any and all firearms that you possess. You are not to possess any firearms in your home, on your person, in any vehicle you occupy, or anywhere near you. Your next court date will be November 17th. If you do make bond, please be advised that we will send you information of your next court date to the address that we have at the present time. Considering the situation, I don't know if you rent or own the property, but if you rent the property and your landlord is asking that you have to vacate the premises due to this incident, then you are responsible for letting the court know of what is your next address. You must maintain current contact information with us in order to, so that we can send you information about your next court date. Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Position 15, Morgan.
This is Shadarian Markel Morgan, accused of battery, domestic violence, and battery against a female who is pregnant. Offense date will be November 2nd, 2022. So I'm a little confused by this. Who's the prosecutor? Miss Duncan?
Yes.
So the battery domestic violence is from November 2nd, 2021, and the battery against one who is pregnant is November 2nd, 2022. Do we have a typo, or is it from the same day, but what year?
Likely a typo on my part, Your Honor. I will correct it after court today.
So is it from 2022?
It's the same incident as the battery family violence.
And the year is 2022, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, please amend that accusation accordingly so that we can amend that in the Odyssey system. So, Mr. Morgan, these are the two charges that have been brought. Yes, courtroom 2, we need to unmute. So, Mr. Morgan, please listen very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything you say during the course of these proceedings, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. We are going to have to appoint a conflict defense attorney to represent you. One is not available at the present time. We are in the process of appointing counsel to represent you. You have not had a chance to speak to an attorney, understand your rights, understand your options, and anything you say about the facts of the case, your statements can and will be used against you. So since you've not spoken to an attorney, and if you want to say everything, that's all on you.
Yes, ma'am.
So do you want to exercise your right to remain silent?
I would like to speak, ma'am.
Do you want to waive your right to remain silent?
No, ma'am.
Do you want to give up your right to remain silent and speak?
Yes, ma'am.
That's your funeral. Go ahead.
Well, she November the 2nd, 2022. The baby's here. The baby getting here. The baby's 10 months. The incident happened last year, and on November. We ain't got the order, and somebody called. But
All right. Thank you for that. Let me go ahead and look back at the warrant.
Correct it, Your Honor. It is 2021. My apologies.
That's all right. That's okay. Okay, so this is a warrant that was issued back in 2021. We do not have a warrant for the battery against one who is pregnant, but I'm assuming that's an accusation that's been stemmed from the original warrant that was issued. So the incident date is November 2nd, 2021. All right, so, but nevertheless, it is still a warrant against you, Mr. Morgan, from November 2nd, 2021. Let me just amend that both. Okay. Mr. Morgan's already been advised of his right to counsel and that one will be available at his next court date. But in the meantime, Ms. Duncan, I've already read the substance of the warrant. What is the bond recommendation?
The state's bond recommendation in this case is a $10,000 surety. That's $5,000 surety per count. If we could have pre-trial read this defendant.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Ms. Harrison, sorry, we skipped right over you.
Forty cycles, 40. Last arrest February of this year, probation violation in Pike County, Georgia. The underlying charge was not indicated. Record reflects 2 violations of probation, 1 failure to appear within the past 10 years. Felony conviction, 2013, theft by receiving stolen property, possession of firearm by convicted felon in Clayton County. 2009, transport or possession of firearm by convicted felon. He has a 2014 driving while license suspended and a 2009 obstruction of law enforcement officers in Clayton County.
That's good. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Duncan.
Yes, in this case, the incident did occur at 2471 Old National Parkway. Officers responded to the victim in this case, who is a Miss Makosha Shivers.
Shivers, yeah. Is it Shivers or Shivers? It's with a C, right?
Yes,
Uh,
Makosha and last name Chivers. In this instance, the victim and the defendant got into a verbal altercation that turned physical when she confronted him about infidelity allegations. He punched her in the ear, which caused her to fall to the ground. At the time, the victim in the case was pregnant. She stated that she fell to the ground, holding her stomach to protect it. She got up and then he knocked her down again and continued to strike her several times. She had to pretend to have a seizure to get him to stop hitting her. He then got her off the floor and took her to Southern Regional Hospital. In this case, Your Honor, the state has an extreme concern about the risk of offense. This defendant does have several cycles of battery family violence in his history. There's a battery family violence in cycle 22 out of Riverdale from 2007 that I'm not aware of the disposition of. Another battery family violence out of cycle 24 from 2008, where the defendant took a no-low plea out of Clayton County, and then cycle 38 in this defendant's history is a 2019 battery family violence charge. I was doing my research this morning and attempted to locate a disposition, and I was not able to find that. I will continue to look, but it seems to appears to be open at this time. Given those facts and circumstances, we have a severe concern for risk of offense, as this is a battery family violence case, and as indicated, this victim was pregnant at the time this attack did occur. We have some concern about the flight risk given the FTAs in the history and the likelihood to respond positively to the legal process given the probation violations in this defendant's history. So we're going to ask for that $10,000 surety bond, $5,000 per charge, no further contact with the victim in this case. Stay away from that incident location, 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing further from the state.
Mr. Morgan, you have a probation hold from Pike County as well. Currently, that's going to hold you at the jail. On the battery family violence, your bond is going to be set at $4,500, and that's going to be a surety bond. On the second charge, that's going to be a $4,500 signature bond through the jail. You have a $9,000 split bond. No further contact with Makosha Shivers or Shivers, Chivers. No further contact with any children that you share with Ms. Shivers, any minor children that you share with Ms. Shivers. If you seek to have any contact with the alleged, I will let you speak in a moment. You can put your hand down. No further contact with any of the minor children that you share with Ms. Shivers. If you seek to have contact with the children, you would need to file the appropriate legitimation action with the correct superior court and get a court order to establish visitation and custody, as well as any other matters. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. And your next court date is going to be November 17th. If you do make bond, you will be released to the custody of Pike County law enforcement only. All right, we can unmute courtroom 2. Yes, Mr. Morgan, do you have a question about your bond?
Ma'am, I was on the violation that she was saying that she couldn't find. I was just on serving time for this charge right here. and Pike County. Because Pike County, my probation officer violated me saying that I had got arrested for this charge, but I never did get arrested. I never seen no police. I did time in Baker County. I was taking a domestic violence class down there.
Understood, but this case is in Fulton County. These cases cannot be adjudicated in any other county. So your allegation that you did time for these charges is not correct.
No, that's what I was violated for.
Well, we will see you on November 17th, or if you believe that these charges have already been adjudicated, as soon as your defense attorney is appointed, please make sure that you cover that with your attorney. Presently, you are still being held because you have a probation hold from Pike County, and I see no indication that that probation hold has been set aside. Thank you.
And I just want to say for the record, if I can, Your Honor, that these charges are open and pending. If the state finds that that 2019 case is a conviction, we will be seeking felony transfer of this case.
Noted. Thank you. Thank you, courtroom 2. May we have our next case?
Position 6, Day.
Ronak Day is accused of simple battery, domestic violence based on the allegation in the warrant that he allegedly lives with Miss Green. So I'm not certain about that, but we're just going to go with the warrant right now. Case number 22 CR 0075968. This allegation apparently occurred on November 4th, 2022. Mr. Day, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be presently Ms. Kim. Ms. Harrison, any priors on Mr. Ronak Day?
9 cycles, last arrest, June of 2021, probation violation in Forsyth County, Georgia. Record indicates an open probation in Forsyth for aggravated assault, 18 CR 05623, sentence November of 2018, 150 days confinement and 6 years, 7 months probation. 2 violations of probation within the past 10 years, and a 2019 simple battery also out of Forsyth. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. King?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor. And it is the state's contention that Ms. Kyra Green does live with the defendant. They've been in a relationship for 5 months, Your Honor.
Okay.
They were at a colleague's house drinking. It was a group of co-workers together.
Yeah, I've read the warrant. I was just wondering what your bond recommendation is.
Understood.
3 CIC. And
yes, due to the defendant's criminal history, the state is asking for a $4,000 surety in this case. We're also asking for no further contact with Kyra Green, Kyra, last name traditional spelling. Stay away from 10535 Branham Fields Road in Duluth. While that's not the location that either party resides at, that could be somewhere they could gather again. We're also asking for no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
okay, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Ronak Day is 24 years old, and he was born and raised here in Georgia. He has no children. He's not married. However, he has a fiance. They say they don't live together, Your Honor. My client and Kyra Green do not reside together. Miss Kyra Green visits my client's place a lot, where he resides with his parents. So we do not have any objection to the stay away from that location, because that instant location is actually his coworker's friend's house. And Your Honor, he works at Black Diamond, the restaurant, as a server with Kyra Green. So if they have no further contact, that means my client has to find another job. So we would like to ask for no further violent contact. And he graduated from high school. He has 2 years of college study. His major was physics, and he's planning to go back to college. I believe that his father is here, Mr. Pradip. left. And also Kyra Green was here as well, but I don't see her now
She's
anymore.
there. She's there.
They're
She's
also
in the car.
on the line.
Sure. So yes, we would like to request for a signature on bond, possibly. Otherwise, maximum $1,000 good bond. Thank you.
Thank you. I can hear from either Ms. Green or Mr. Pradip Day if either one wants to speak, but I need to have both of you unmute and start your video.
Hey,
Mr.
hello.
Day, good
Yeah, this is
afternoon.
Pradeep.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I will.
If you'd like to raise your right hand, I need to place you under oath. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
All right, that's your son out there. He's got the 25th birthday coming up, and this
Yeah.
is not a great way to end the year. Does he live in Swanee, Georgia with you?
Yes,
Okay, and that's the Wandering Way location?
yes, ma'am.
All right, and he currently resides there with you.
Yes.
Okay, and what would you like to tell me, Mr. Day?
Actually, he's doing recently very good. He's working, sorry. He's working and planning to go to college. And I see good behave also. So I have no idea what happened that night. They have an argument with someone.
No, we're not going to get into the facts of the case.
Okay, so yeah.
Why should I release them on a bond?
Yeah, he's actually getting his life in track. So that's why I mean, you should consider his bond, and I will pay the bond amount and whatever it is, and then I want actually his life back, go to college, and get the real life.
Understood. All aspirations of good parents for their children. I appreciate that, Mr. Day. If you could please mute your screen. Miss Green, did you want to chime in as well?
Yes, just anything you'd like.
All right, I can't hear you. No, I'm sorry, I can't hear her at all. Okay.
I would just like to put on the record that at the scene, when the officers asked her about being struck, she was not forthcoming, and there were multiple independent witnesses that.
Yes, I've read that part too. So I've taken that under consideration. Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. All right, I see Miss Green. Miss Green, your screen keeps freezing up. We see you in various frozen poses. It's very difficult to be able to communicate with you. So I'm moving on. Thank you. Yes, it's very troubling that Mr. Day is on probation for a felony matter, and I have read the warrant. Alcohol apparently was not a good program for Mr. Day. Bond is going to be set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Kyra Green. And yes, I am going to require him not only to stay away from where Miss Green works, lives, or also presently wherever she physically stands. You need to stay 200 yards away from her. You cannot communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, including in person, through a phone, computer device, or on social media. You have to stay away from the Branham Fields location. It's not a question of staying away from your friends, it's just staying away from the neighborhood. Since an incident happened in a neighborhood where you do not live, I don't think that neighborhood would appreciate having you back there. So you are not to return to the Branham Fields neighborhood or subdivision at all. Stay away from the entire subdivision. No illegal drugs and no more alcohol and no weapons and no firearms. You are to reside right now. We have the Wandering Way, Swanee, Georgia address. And if you change your address, you need to make sure that the court knows what your new address is. Your next court date is going to be November 17th. If you are released on bond, please be sure that you maintain current contact information with us at all times. If you plan to have a wonderful career as your parents aspire you to have, you need to resolve these big hiccups on your criminal history record. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. Thank you.
Your Honor, are you able to add no communication through third parties as well, since they have so many mutual friends?
No further contact through third parties as well. I think that pretty much is spelled out in the standard bond order. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Day, your son's bond is $1,500 and with some serious conditions. If he violates any of the conditions and the authorities discover that, he will be back in jail with probably no bond.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to,
Petition number 18.
yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, let's keep position 18 in the chair. Mr. Day, I just also want to make sure that you understand that if you go back to work, you need to let your employer know there's a no further contact with Ms. Green, and they have to schedule your time, your work period accordingly to make sure that it doesn't overlap. Thank you. All right, position 18. We have State versus Tyrese Rainey, 22 CR 0076001Y, accused of criminal trespass from October 4th, 2022. Mr. Rainey, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Melnick. All right. And let's see now, Ms. Harrison.
11 Cycles, last arrest, September of 2021 for sale of marijuana in Fulton County. That's an open case, 2 CP 202880. Record also indicates an open probation for robbery, aggravated assault, and aggravated battery. Sentenced April of 2018 with 7 years probation. Additional open probation, theft by receiving stolen property. Sentenced December of 2019, 5 years probation out of Clayton County. Record indicates 2 violations of probation within the past 10 years, a 2021 conviction for aggravated assault, firearm during the commission of a felony, and a burglary.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Melnick, your client wants to say something. Do you want to advise him accordingly?
Mr. Rainey, let's wait till the end, okay? I'm going to ask you to put your hand down and not say anything at this time. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Duncan, I've read the warrant. This charge is really criminal trespass, allegedly causing damage to property, specifically the window of a car. So what's the state's recommendation?
Your Honor, respectfully, Michelle McCutcheon. For the
Ms.
state.
McCutcheon, sorry.
Yes, yes, Judge. This case, I had sent, I don't know if Mr. Jordan is the clerk today, but I sent a transfer order to Superior Court. I've consulted with the Deputy ADA this morning. That case, this criminal trespass is actually related to a current DA case that is open, where the defendant is charged with, I believe, multiple counts, I believe 8 or 9 counts of entering auto, as well as criminal trespass and damage to property. So this appears to be a duplicate charge and should be transferred to the DA's office. It is connected to 22 DA 11546.
22 DA
11546. A string of entering auto and this one criminal damage to property that stems from what the state would submit as a crime spree occurring on or about November the 4th of 2022 through and including the date of October the 4th of 2022 through and including the date of October 12th. All of those offenses are named in the 22 DA 11546 case. And Your Honor, should I submit the transfer order to someone other than Mr. Jordan? I sent it.
Yes, Katrina Lewis.
I will send it to Ms. Lewis.
She's
Thank
a
you.
one-woman wonder today.
All right, thank you.
And the LM. Thank you.
Your Honor, he was in Superior Court or in first appearance this morning for that other charge. He's been in custody for 2 weeks, and then as he's being released, these charges popped up. My understanding is he is not technically in custody on this case. Is that correct?
Well,
I looked at
warrant
Odyssey.
came up, so now it's being transferred to Superior Court,
right?
To be added or merged with the other outstanding charges.
Yes.
All right.
And Ms. Melnick, I have sent the proposed order for the court to consider to Ms. Lewis, and I've also copied you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Rainey, your attorney will speak to you. This case is going to go to Superior Court to be added or merged
I
with
received it.
an open felony case that's being investigated by the District Attorney's Office. Can we unmute courtroom 2, and Ms. Melnick, you can say anything you want to him?
Mr. Rainey, we will speak. Mr. Rainey, I know you had something to say, but this is not the time to say it. I promise you. This case is now being transferred back to Superior Court to be consolidated with those cases.
No, I mean, Melanie, I don't understand
Well,
because
yeah.
I don't understand like how I get all these charges when they pulled me over because my car was stolen. They thought my car was stolen. They did what they say. It's in my auntie name though.
Right.
So I
This is
don't know how I get all these charges. And then
there are warrants for you, but we will discuss that with you later. Okay. We'll ask the deputies to see if they will have you let you call me after court. If you ask the deputies, yeah, I can explain it to him then.
Can you let me Harrison know that I've never been locked up for armed robbery ever in my life?
Right. Okay. But this out of the state court's jurisdiction right now, and we could ask the deputies to have them let you speak to me. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Position 18 is being transferred to Superior Court.
We're gonna do position number 7.
Position number 7, and that would be Miss Christian Falconer and middle name Anton, case number 22 CR 007-598F. Mr. Falconer is accused of pointing or aiming a pistol at another, a Cameron Funches, on November 3rd, 2022. Mr. Falconer, you have a right, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Miss, is this a conflict? Yeah, oh, sorry.
This is a conflict.
Yeah.
There's like 3 of them all together, Judge.
Position 17 and 20.
Yeah.
All right, and so, yes, Mr. Falconer, you are also one of the individuals who would need to be appointed a conflict defense attorney because the Public Defender's Office is not authorized to represent you. So we are going to address your bond. Please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case, your statements can and will be used against you. Ms. Harrison, any priors, please?
11 cycles, last arrest, August of this year for failure to appear. Underlying charge indicates traffic citation in which he pled NOLO. That was in Douglasville. 2020, disorderly conduct. That was misdemeanor conviction amended from a burglary in the 1st degree. And a 2017 given false name out of Cobb and driving without valid license in Floyd County in 2019 and 22. 3 failure to appear within the past 10 years, nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor, and there's also an open theft by deception from this year out of Clayton. For that reason, the state is requesting a 10,000 surety in this case. While according to the warrant, he was not the one holding the firearm, officers are led to believe the 3 co-defendants were acting in concert. Once we receive more information, the state will seriously consider sending this up as a felony, aggravated assault, possibly even burglary as well, Your Honor. We're also asking for no further contact with the victim in this case, Cameron Funches, C-A-M-E-R-O-N, last name F-U-N-C-H-E-S. The state also asks he has no further contact with the other 2 co-defendants, positions 17 and 20. We're asking for a stay away from the incident location 6405 Webb Bridge Court in Alpharetta, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. I would also like to note that this entire altercation was captured on body worn camera, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Bond is going to be set at $2,000. It is a surety bond. No weapons, no firearms, no illegal drugs and alcohol, to stay away, no contact with Cameron Funches, and after today to stay away from the co-defendants on position 17 and 20. That would be, excuse me, that was, I think it was 17, 20, yeah. So that would be Doyle, Hope, and
Brad Sharp.
Brad Sharp, Sharp with a silent E. Next court date is going to be November 17th. Thank you. I can take up position 17 if he's available, Doyle Pope. And then next on deck would be Brad Sharp. This is Mr. Doyle Pope, position 17, same offense, pointing or aiming a gun or pistol at another. And that would be a case number 22 CR 007599D. Mr. Pope, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Melnick. Any priors, Ms. Harrison?
Second arrest. First arrest was December of 2020 for a DUI under the influence of alcohol in Lumpkin County, Georgia. That charge was amended to non-fingerprintable charge, and it was a conviction. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor, the state is asking for a 5,000 surety in this case due to him having lesser of a criminal history, but nonetheless still involved in a very serious offense. We're asking for the same conditions, the no further contact with the victim and the other co-defendants, a stay away, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you. Ms. Melnick?
Yes, Your Honor. My client lives at 465 Adams Road in Canton, Georgia. He works for the Georgia National Guard. He and the two other co-defendants, they were actually working for a company that serves evictions notices.
I'm sorry, they work for a company that serves or carries out the eviction process?
They served an eviction.
I would like to know
the body worn camera was actually by one of the accused. It was accused number 3. So they were there serving for the evictions. That's why they entered the property. But we're asking that since he has no prior record, I think there was some. They were not there to burglarize the house. They were there just for the eviction process because they did work for a company. We are asking for a signature bond on this case.
$2,000.
There was no documentation, Your Honor.
Yeah, I read that part. $2,000 surety bond. No further contact with Cameron Funches, to stay away from 6405 Webb Bridge Court in Alpharetta, Georgia. The same condition also applies to the prior defendant, to stay away from Mr. Falconer and Mr. Sharp and Mr. Funches. No weapons. Any weapons that they own, they have to surrender them to the authorities. They are not allowed to own any firearms on their person, in their home, in any vehicle, anywhere near them. Thank you. Next case, please.
16.
Mr. Sharp. Mr. Sharp is Brad Patrick Sharp, 22 CR 007 600F. Same charge, pointing or aiming a gun or pistol at another, from November 3rd, 2022. We've been advised of his right to remain silent, and his attorney is going to be appointed from the Conflict Defense Office unless he chooses to retain his own counsel at a future date. But presently, Mr. Sharp, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. So I have read the warrants for all 3 cases. I understand in terms of now from the statements from the attorneys that either this was an attempted event of trying to serve an eviction or to carry out a improper eviction. I do not know. But all I have is the warrant right now. So I'll hear the bond recommendation before I hear. Oh, Ms. Harrison, please. Does he have any priors?
Second arrest. First arrest was May of 2017 for concealing license plate in Raleigh, North Carolina. That charge was dismissed.
Thank you. So no priors. Okay. And Ms. King?
This defendant also has an FTA out of North Carolina as well. The state is asking for 10,000 surety due to this being the person that actually held the gun to the face of the victim. Same conditions, no further contact with the victim and co-defendant, stay away, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you. We need to unmute courtroom 2. Mr. Sharp, as you have observed, individuals who are not represented by counsel, I always reaffirm their right to remain silent. Anything you say, your statements will not only be recorded, but used by the prosecutors against you in the treatment of this case. The warrant indicates, and I'm going to let you know what the warrant says. It says that the accused did attempt to serve an eviction without legal documentation, that entered the residence without permission or authority of the resident, and point a pistol towards the victim. This was viewed on body-worn camera worn by the accused, number 3. So the allegations support the probable cause for this charge. If you want to say anything with regards to any defenses you may have, those statements can and will be used against you once the case goes to trial. So, do you like to keep your right to remain silent, or do you want to give it up?
I will waive the right to speak.
All right.
I've been misidentified. I'm a general contractor. I was there to drill the locks, and at no point did I carry a weapon or ever into the premises.
You were there to drill the locks on the door to open and serve an eviction process?
Yes. Because
all right. Now you have just admitted to an illegal self-help eviction process.
No, it was, the documentation is there.
Was there a court order?
It was not technically an eviction.
Oh my God.
They were guests. They were never residents of the property.
All right. But they were occupying the premises.
They were occupying.
All right. Mr. Sharp, again, your statements could rise to the level of an illegal self-help eviction.
I understand.
All right.
But I would reiterate that I never carried a weapon or entered.
All right. But unfortunately, you're being charged as either the one who carried the weapon or as an accessory to the fact. Your bond is $2,000. It is a surety bond. You are to stay away from 6405 Webbridge Court in Alpharetta. You are not to have any further contact with Cameron Funches. You're also, from this point onwards, to stay away from the co-defendants, which are Mr. Pope and Mr. Falconer. Any weapons that you may possess, you have to surrender them to the authorities. Thank you. Next court date is November 17th.
Thank you.
16 next.
This is Kyrie Fillmore, accused of giving false information to an officer, fair evasion, and giving, 2 counts of giving false information to an officer and fair evasion from November 4th, 2020. Mr. Fillmore, your case number is 22 CR 007-587F, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Miller. Ms. Harrison, any priors on Mr. Fillmore?
4 cycles, last arrest January of 2013 for purchase, possession, distribution, or sale of marijuana in Gwinnett County. That was a conviction. GCIC indicates 3 holds: Lawrenceville, Georgia, probation violation; Sandy Springs, failure to appear; Decatur, Georgia, assault by strangulation. 1 violation of probation within the past 10 years. And a 2011 possession of marijuana less than an ounce in Clayton County.
All right, thank you. Ms. Duncan?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred at the East Point MARTA station located at 2848 Main Street in East Point, Georgia. And when approached by MARTA officials, the defendant in this case gave a false name of Kaylin Fillmore, K-A-L-I-N, same last name, Fillmore. That is obviously not this defendant's name. The defendant was also seen entering the fare gate at that MARTA station without paying the proper fare. And the defendant also gave a false date of birth of August 8th, 1889. That is not the defendant's correct date of birth. In this case, Your Honor, the state does have concern of this defendant's likelihood to positively respond to legal process, as well as flight risk, given that this defendant is currently wanted on 3 holds and does have FTAs in the history, I believe. Given that, Your Honor, there are preset bonds in this case, but the state is going to make a recommendation of a $750 surety. That's $250 per count. Stay away from the East Point MARTA station. No alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Melnick?
Yes, Your Honor. My client lives at 6019 Woodcrest Road in Atlanta. He works for Uber Eats. He has significant ties to the community. I did look on Odyssey, and in the jail screen, it looks like he only has a 600 surety on a giving false name and a 300 on a fair evasion. And I did not see where there was a bond on the other giving a false name.
Well, it's
okay, and I just want to make sure. Yeah, I could be reading it wrong.
No, that's what it says.
Okay.
It's got a unsecured judicial release, but then it's got a bond amount.
Right.
And so because of the bond amount, currently, in order to bond out, he's got a $1,400 surety bond, even though there's a UJR notation there.
Okay.
And his address currently lists him in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I'm a little perplexed by that too.
Your Honor, we are asking for a surety bond. He does have holds on him so that he can go on to the cab and to take care of his other cases as well.
Okay. And is he a Georgia resident, as far as you know? Because
yes, Your Honor, he has a 678 area code, and he works for Uber Eats.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Fillmore, I think your attorney has spoken enough for you. Did you want to add something with regards to your residency?
That's all I want to tell about.
Okay, all right. On the 2 counts of giving false information, that's going to be a $250 surety bond. On the fair evasion is going to be a $250 signature bond through the jail. The total bond is set at $750. It is a split bond. Mr. Fillmore, you would have to pay on the $500 portion of the bond. And if you do make bond, you will be released either to Decatur or to Sandy Springs or to Lawrenceville to address one of your 3 probation violations. All right, we need to unmute courtroom 2.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out like the chronological order of how they're gonna take me through the.
Whoever shows up at the jail first come, first served.
Isn't Sandy Springs here?
All of them are here. Lawrenceville is north of us. Sandy Springs is slightly north of us, and
No.
Decatur is east of us.
I mean, like the court, they use this courtroom here or?
No,
I don't-
Sandy Springs is a city just
Okay.
north of us.
Okay.
These are all different cities: Lawrenceville, Sandy Springs, and Decatur. We are in Atlanta right now.
And can I talk to my public defender? Like,
You will. She will call you shortly after the calendar.
Judge, what are the conditions? You just said.
Stay away from the MARTA station, East Point, 2048 Main Street. And if he uses MARTA, he must pay for the services of MARTA, and that he cannot stop or embark from the East Point station at 2048 Main Street. Thank you.
Position number 9, 4 more.
Oh, next court date is November 17th for Mr. Fillmore, if he's still with us.
He's still with us, you heard.
Thank you. Position number 9, thank you. We have Mr. Justin Fulmore, 22 CR 007-579F, accused of simple battery from November 4th, 2022. Mr. Fulmore, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Ms. Harrison?
7 cycles with history in Georgia and Florida. Last arrest, January of 2020, for possession of firearm and possession or sale of marijuana in Fulton County. No disposition listed on that arrest. Record does indicate an open probation in Fulton County for possession of cocaine with intent to distribute, possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, and possession of firearm by convicted felon. case number 20 SC 174952, sentenced April of this year, 3 years probation. Record indicates one violation of probation within the past 10 years, a 2010 misdemeanor cruelty to children in the first degree. It was amended to disorderly conduct out of Muskogee County, Georgia. A 2017 possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, felony conviction, nothing further.
All right, thank you. Ms. Duncan, do you know if he's got a probation, a hold right now in Superior Court?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor, but I can check before they.
No, that's quite all right. I was just wondering. We
I'm
will
not showing
proceed
a
on
hold,
your,
Judge.
no holds?
I'm not showing one.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Duncan, this is regarding the incident with Christy McPherson? McClarty, okay. And what's your bond recommendation?
The state's bond recommendation in this case is a $2,500 surety. We ask that there be no further contact between the defendant and his victim. We ask for a, actually, we're not gonna ask for a stay away from that. Well, I'm sorry.
It's not a domestic violence. It says domestic disturbance, but it's not charged as a domestic violence.
Correct, because they don't live together anymore. I'm not really aware where the victim lives, so I'm just gonna ask for a stay away from her in general. 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. The state has some concern about the risk of reoffense, given the facts in this case, Your Honor. She was coming to the location to get her belongings when he grabbed her by the neck and slammed her onto the ground, causing soreness to her back. So in the event that they're trying to disconnect the relationship, she was attacked. So we're concerned that if she tries to further disconnect, that there will be more violence in this case. We also have concern about the flight risk given the FTAs listed in the history, Your Honor. For those reasons, we're going to request that bond as stated as $2,500 surety. Stay away from the victim in this case, wherever she resides. 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing further from the state.
All right, thank you. Miss Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, Justin Fulmore. He's 34 years old and he has been here in Georgia for about 18 years, specifically 6 years here in Atlanta, Georgia. He has 6 children, Your Honor, and one of them is actually 4 years old, who is, I guess that's the child that he has with Miss Christy McClarty. They do not reside together anymore. My client is okay with a stay away up that, even though it's not ordered, it recommended, he's okay to stay away. He just needs one time law enforcement officer visit so that he can retrieve all his personal belongings. He works at a warehouse. He does a lot of cleaning services, and he has his grade up to 9th grade, and he completed his GED, and he has his family members here in Georgia. So he has ties to the community. He is not a flight risk, and he's not going to intimidate the witness because they are not in the relationship anymore. So we would like to request for the maximum $1,000 signature bond, surety bond or signature bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Bond is set at $2,500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is November 17th.
Judge, the victim is on the line.
Oh, she is?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. There she is. I'm sorry. All right, Miss McClarty, you need to lower your device so I can see your face. Okay. And if you want to add anything to this case, we will need to place you under oath.
I don't want to add anything. I want to add something. I don't know if I have the right to ask. So it's just something about one of those charges that I know nothing about. And I just wanted to ask you, could you repeat those charges again?
The one that he's facing today?
No, the one that you said something about child cruelty, something about child something. What did you say?
I didn't say anything. I just said he's charged with simple battery.
I'm talking about the past charges.
His past history?
Yes.
All right. Yes, we will look into that. But if you have anything to add about your case right now, pending against you?
No.
No? Okay, please mute your screen. Thank you. All right, as I was saying, the bond is going to be set at 2,500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is November 17th. He's to have no further contact with Christy McClarty. He's to stay away from any location where she lives. If she lives at the 3185 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive location, then he must stay away from that location. He may return there one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings, and that visit cannot exceed 1 hour. He's to have no further contact with any children that he shares with Ms. McClarty. If he seeks to have visitation or custody with the child or children, then he must file the appropriate legitimation case in the correct superior court and get a court order to establish visitation and custody. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. Next court date is November 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 10, Hayes.
We have State versus Theodore Hayes, and Mr. Hayes's case number is 22 CR 007580C. Mr. Hayes is accused of battery, family violence from November 3rd, 2022. Mr. Hayes, your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim, and you've also been advised of your right to remain silent. Ms. Harrison, any priors, please?
Yes, 1 moment. "31 cycles with history in Georgia and Louisiana. Last arrest August of 2021 for possession of firearm and purchase, possession, manufacture, or sale of marijuana. That case was no pros under 22 SC 182453. He has a 2016 conviction for entry or remain after forbidden to leave out of Louisiana, and a 2019 possession of firearm and a burglary felony conviction, nothing further.
So he does have a felony conviction from 2019, burglary and possession of firearm during the commission of felony?
In Louisiana.
In Louisiana, okay. Ms. Duncan?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred at 8064 South Fulton Parkway. Officers were dispatched to a domestic dispute call. When they got there, they spoke with the victim in this case, and Ms. Shamika Harper, that's SHAMEIKA, Harper, common spelling. She indicated to officers that at the time, the defendant in this case, officers responded and they got there and there was an ongoing dispute. And when she opened the door, she asked the officers what took them so long. She indicated to them that they had gotten into a physical dispute. Officers were able to witness visible injuries to Ms. Harper on her forehead and her head. And the defendant in this case was taken into custody.
All right. What's the bond recommendation?
Yes, we have some concern about the risk of offense in this case, given that there's a relationship here. Our bond recommendation for this battery family violence is 3,500 surety, given this defendant's history and the circumstances, as well as the other factors present. We also saw on the history that wasn't noted by preacher. I think there's a battery on a police officer that I saw. So we're gonna ask for no further contact with Ms. Shamika Harper to stay away from the incident location. 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Our office was not able to make contact with Ms. Harper, so out of an abundance of caution, we will request that the state's request be granted in this case, nothing further.
I don't see any alleged victim on the screen, so we're going to move on to Ms. Kim.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hayes is 45 years old and he has been here in Georgia for the last 2 years. They live together and their relationship is they're engaged right now. My client is willing to stay away. He does not object to stay away from 8064 South Fulton Parkway. As long as he gets a signature on bond, he would be happy to do that. and he has two children. One of them, he's paying for child support as a father, and also he's been working at logistics service last 2 years. He's gainfully employed, and he also has a certified gardening. He's a certified gardener. He does flower bed, and he also has technical college certificate about carpentry, Your Honor. He has completed GED. We would like to request for maximum $1,000 gilt bond. Thank you.
Bond set at 3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Shamika Harper to stay away from the 8064 South Fulton Parkway, location in Fairburn, Georgia. If he lives there, then he can return one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings. That visit cannot exceed 1 hour. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms. And his next court date is going to be November 17.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 21, Smith.
21, okay. All right, I've noted that Ms. Kim will be filing waivers of appearances for 3 of her cases. So
Yes, Your Honor. I
will-
filed.
Okay, and we will address that at the after we've done with the other cases.
Thank you.
Position 21 is Robert L. Smith, accused of simple battery domestic violence from November 4th, 2022. His case number is 22 CR 0075911. Mr. Smith, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Melnick. Ms. Harrison, any priors?
4 cycles, last arrest, January of 2021 for aggravated assault, 2 counts in Cobb County. Record indicates that charge was amended to I will type it in the chat. It's a CWAC, case number 21M1630, sentenced November of 2021 for 12 months probation.
All right, please chat that to Ms. Melnick and to Ms. Duncan, please.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Duncan?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident did occur on yesterday at 2950 Springdale Road, apartment I-8. The victim in this case is Taniqua Marshall, that's Taniqua, Marshall, common spelling. In this instance, Your Honor, the victim did indicate to officers that they live together and have been doing so for over a year, but they do not share any children. This incident occurred, Your Honor, given that there was a verbal dispute, and the report indicates that the victim was struck because she called the defendant a pedophile after finding a video on his
Oh,
phone.
whoa. Okay.
Your Honor.
Okay.
As
Let's just go with
Your Honor, if I may, we've been instructed by Solicitor Gamage to put all relevant facts on the record.
The attorney who is prosecuting the case will speak.
yes, and that was going to be my exact sentiment.
All right, and I have noted the objection, and please be aware, I respect the Honorable Gamage's position on that, but when it comes to my court, any reference to sensitive material is to be suppressed. You may refer to it as a sensitive charge. You may put that in the chat. There are lots of other ways to do it, to comply. And I'm going to waive sounding on any improper or what I deem to be sensitive charges. So Ms. Duncan, let's move forward. Okay, so there was a sensitive matter and there was an accusation. Yes, I read the warrant. What's your bond recommendation?
Yes, our bond recommendation in this case, because he struck her several times, is 2,500 surety. No further contact with the victim in this case. Stay away from the incident location, 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no violations of Georgia law. The state does believe that this defendant poses a particular danger to this individual victim, given the facts and circumstances, given that this attack continued over several instances during that time period. We believe that bond is more than reasonable, given this defendant's criminal history and the facts and all the factors present, that 2,500 is more than reasonable. Nothing further.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, Ms. Melnick, you know, sometimes I can't put the horse into the barn, but I'll still hear your recommendation.
Thank you, Your Honor. I did speak to my client and he states that he could, if released, he would go live at 208 Judy Lane in Atlanta. He'll be living with his uncle who raised him. He is a truck driver with a CDL and has significant ties to the community. We were asking for a $2,000 signature bond on this case.
All right. Bond is set at 2,500. It's just going to be a surety bond, and no further contact with Ms. Tamika Marshall, and to stay away from the incident location. And I can't remember all of them, but I think it was Springdale Road.
29 Springdale Road, apartment I-8.
Okay, I think Ms. Lewis has it also. Okay, yeah, no further contact with Ms. Taniqua Marshall, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Next court date is going to be November 17. Thank you.
Position 11.
Alan Jahovic. I think that's how you pronounce it. 22 CR 007-585E. Mr. Jahovic, you are accused of simple battery, domestic violence from November 4th, 2022. You have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Melnick. Ms. Harrison, please.
Second arrest, first arrest was January of 2013 for pandering in Barstow, Colorado, Barstow County, Georgia. That arrest was no pros. He is recommended for UJR, Judge, nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred at 3097 Maple Drive Northeast, apartment 225 in Atlanta, Georgia. The victim in this case is Ms. Kiera J. Flores. Kiera is spelled K-I-E-R-A, Flores, F-L-O-R-E-S. Officers responded to a domestic dispute call at that location. She indicated that she got into a verbal argument with her boyfriend, the defendant in this case. She left to de-escalate the situation, came back, and upon arrival, she was attacked by the defendant. He punched her, pulled her hair, and grabbed her by the neck. She stated that this has happened several times, and this is the first time that she's calling the police. Therefore, we're concerned about the risk of reoffense in this case and the particular danger to this individual victim, given the statements made to officers. Officers at that time did indicate that there was visible bruising on the defendant's arms. However, it was later clarified that the bruising came from a event that occurred prior to 2 days before. He didn't actually, in fact, accused of choking her during this incident in today's case. Our recommendation for bond, given that, Your Honor, we're aware of the limited criminal history, but given the egregious nature of the facts, we think a $2,500 surety is more than reasonable. No further contact with the victim in this case, stay away from that incident location. 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, weapons, no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing further from the state.
All right. Ms. Harrison, what was that original charge that was dismissed?
Aggravated. I'm sorry. No, it's pandering.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ms. Melnick?
Yes, Your Honor. My client lives at 1031 Alcovey River Court in Loganville, Georgia. They are not live together. He works for a company that installs shower enclosures, the doors that go in the showers. So he does have significant ties to the community. We would ask the court for a $2,000 signature bond or a UJR.
It's a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services.
Okay, thank you.
He has to stay 200 yards away and not contact Ms. Kiara Flores, F-L-O-R-E-S. He is to have no further, he is to stay away from 3097 Maple Drive in Northeast Atlanta, and make sure that he doesn't contact her in person, through a phone, through a computer device, Third party, social media, just completely stay away from her unless he would like to be back in jail. If he violates a no further contact provision, a bench warrant may be issued for his arrest, and he could also be charged with a felony count of aggravated stalking. Mr. Jarovic, you will be released on bond. You will report to pretrial once a month. You will complete a domestic violence intervention program while you are out on bond at your expense. You must begin that program within 30 days of being released. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. You make sure that when at your second visit with your pretrial officer, that they know that you have begun taking those classes and that you continue to attend those weekly classes until you complete them. Your next court date will be sent to you at your Loganville address. If you change your address, make sure that we are informed of that address. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons and firearms. You will be subject to random screens for alcohol and illegal drugs by pretrial. Do you have any questions about your bond? Good.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
I just want to say for the record, Your Honor, the warrant does indicate that they live together at the incident location.
Yeah, but I've got a Loganville address. So, and Miss Melnick indicates that he doesn't live there. So if he doesn't live there, then the notice will be sent to Loganville. And if he does live at Maple Drive, he's not allowed to go back there. So the outcome remains the same.
Understood, Your Honor. I just want to clarify for the record.
Understood. Thank you. Moving on, courtroom 2.
Section 23 and 24, Williams.
Williams, thank you. Do I have other cases in courtroom 3 or any other location?
We have one more case in courtroom 1.
Okay, thank you.
Number 8.
All right. We have Mr. Christopher Michael Williams, and he has 2 cases pending before us, one from September 4th, 2022, another from November 5th, 2022, which is today. All right. Mr. Williams, your first case is 22 CR 007592G. You're accused of battery, domestic violence, theft by taking, and willful obstruction of an officer from September 4th, 2022. Your second case is 22 CR 007593G. You're accused of battery, domestic violence from November 5th, 2022. You have been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Melnick in both cases. Ms. Harrison, anything prior to September of 2022?
No, Judge.
Anything after September 2022?
He has a 2019 aggravated assault. He was under first offenders and it was sealed in 2022.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Duncan?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident did occur. The first case did occur on September 4th, 2022 at 23 Sand Hill.
I'm sorry, could you speak up? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Ms. Duncan, you were fading in and out. Yeah.
One moment. Can you hear me now?
Yes, better. Thank you.
Okay, this incident occurred on September 4th, 2022 at 2323 Sand Hill Place Southwest. The victim in this case is Christina Wilson, both common spelling. In this case, the state is going to be requesting a $6,500 surety broken down as follows. 5,000 surety for the battery family violence. The battery family violence is that way because the facts indicate that the victim and the defendant share a child. We're going to be asking for a $1,000 surety on the theft by taking. This defendant's record does indicate he has prior theft offenses, and we're going to be asking for 500 surety on the willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. In this case, Your Honor, the defendant is alleged to have had a verbal altercation with his child's mother because he wanted to see her phone. When she would not give him the passcode, put her in a chokehold to force her to give him the password. When she attempted to walk away and leave the location, He followed her outside and began to attack her by grabbing her and striking her in the head several times. She received visible injuries as a result of this attack. She had a small laceration on her upper lip, a bruise on her forehead, scratches and swelling on her head as well, and another scratch on her right shoulder and a laceration to her elbow.
All right, he was never arrested from that incident, right?
From this September.
No, yeah.
What do you mean? He was arrested now?
No, he was never arrested in September because he's got a charge of willful obstruction of an officer. I'm so sorry, I can't recall all the warrants. I just wanted to be sure. I can't recall whether he was arrested.
No, what happened is, which I was going to get to, what happened is officers made contact with the defendant and he was driving inside of a vehicle. They observed him and they asked him to get outside of the vehicle that he was in. And instead of following the officer's instructions, he actually drove away on the officers.
That's okay. Thank you. Sometimes I just need my recollection refreshed. Okay. So he wasn't arrested from the September 4th incident. So the allegations that he fled the scene.
Yes, he drove away from officers at that time.
So then let's move on to the second case involving his father.
Okay, on that incident, it occurred sometime this morning at 2527 Browns Mill Road in Atlanta. In this incident, it is indicated that the defendant attacked his father after his father made a comment about the state in which he left the bathroom. He became angry and he attacked his father, grabbing him and slamming him to the ground. He slammed his father to the ground with such force that his father sustained visible injury, including a laceration to the left side of his head and a hematoma on his left cheek. There was an independent third-party witness of the wife of his father, Miss Elizabeth Terry, who I would assume is his mother. She stated that she did see the physical altercation at that time. Given the facts and circumstances, officers determined that this defendant was the primary aggressor and took him into custody. We do have some concern about the risk of reoffense. As indicated, this is the second instance of family violence that this victim, that this defendant has allegedly perpetrated. So the state is going to be asking for a $2,500 cash only bond on this case. No further contact with the victim. Stay away from that incident location. 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. And as far as the additional conditions for the case one, because I don't think I got to those, it's no further contact with the victim in that case. Third-party child contact. Stay away from that incident location. 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing further from the state.
All right, Ms. Meldick, let's start with the bond recommendation involving from today.
From the incident, yes, Your Honor. My client, if he was to be released, he would go live with his mother, and she lives at 1606. Sorry for the background noise. 1606 Durham Fields Way in Lithonia.
Okay.
My client does work for Amazon, and we would ask for a signature bond on the incident from today.
Right. And what about the September 2022 incident?
Yes, Your Honor, we would ask at max $1,000 surety bond on 500 on that case, but preferably with a signature bond on that case. Like I said, he does have significant ties to the community, and he would live with his mother in Lithonia.
Okay. What concerns me are the factual allegations surrounding the September 2022 incident. Not only was Mr. Williams aware that officers were on the scene, but that he left the scene. And there was no accountability for what was allegedly going on at the Ms. Wilson's location. On the battery domestic violence, the bond is going to be set at $3,500. The theft by taking is $500, and the obstruction of an officer, in other words, fleeing the scene, that's going to be $2,000. That bond is going to be set at $6,000 surety. No further contact with Christina Wilson. Stay away from 2323 Sand Hills It was either road or place in Southwest Atlanta. No alcohol, drugs, and weapons. With regards to the second case, the battery domestic violence, the bond's going to be set at $2,500. That's going to be a surety bond. No further contact with Frank Williams to stay away from 25. Was it 25, 21, 25, 20, 25, 27 Brown Mill Road in Atlanta, Georgia. And again, no alcohol, no drugs, no weapons. The reset date for both cases is going to be November 17th. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, total bond is set at $8,500. And Mr. Williams, if you do make bond, make sure you update the court with your new address so that we can send you summons for your next court date. Thank you. Unmute courtroom 2.
I'm asking this to my public defender. I didn't flee the scene, so.
Well, we can only go with the allegations set in the warrant.
The location was my home. The 2323 is my home. That was my prior home. I didn't flee the scene. But
Do you want me to read the warrant to you?
no, ma'am. I just no, I didn't flee the scene. Like I was there.
Did you drive off with the officers present? You didn't drive away with the officers present? I mean, if you want to answer that question, you're going to incriminate yourself.
That's why I just know. I know I didn't flee the scene, man. That's why. But we'll deal with it.
Did you drive away with the officers present?
I'll deal with it in court, man. It's okay.
Smart move. Thank you. All right. Any other cases in courtroom 2?
Position 8.
Thank you.
On file.
Mr. Johnny Earl Fowler is accused of criminal trespass from November 4th, 2022 in case number 22 CR 0075978. Mr. Fowler has been advised of his right to remain silent, and his attorney is Miss Kim.
Kim.
Can we switch off the video for courtroom 2 for a second? Switch off the video, thank you. And will the officer in courtroom 2 please check your chat? All right, and the officer in courtroom 2, you can unmute and let us know when you are ready.
Okay, we're ready.
Thank you, Officer Norris, Francois, thank you. All right, we can start the video. Okay, thank you. All right, we are addressing Mr. Fowler, and as I was saying, he has been advised of his right to remain silent, and his attorney is Ms. Kim. Ms. Harrison, any priors on Mr. Fowler?
37 cycles, last arrest, March of 2022 for failure to appear. Underlying charge was not indicated. That was in Riverdale, Georgia. Record does indicate an outstanding warrant. It's a pretrial bench warrant for theft by receiving stolen property and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. That's 21 CP 197776. That bond was issued by his pretrial supervision officer because he didn't show up for his appointments.
Okay.
But she did speak with his mom, and she indicated some MH issues.
Okay.
Also that he is homeless.
Understood. Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is requesting a 2,000 surety in this case due to defendant's lengthy criminal history, even having a conviction this year. and 3 open cases, including FDA pretrial just referenced. This offense occurred at the Dunkin' Donuts, where he actually got a charge from previously for getting into altercation with management there. So that means that he received a criminal trespass, and then when he was arrested for that disorderly conduct, he was also told not to go back, and just 1 month later, he is back there again. For that reason, the 2,000 surety is more than reasonable. We want the court to also do another stay away from this Dunkin' Donuts location at 120 Piedmont Avenue in Atlanta, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Fowler is 37 years old, and we would like to request for just maximum $1,000 surety bond. That's gonna be even like no bond, Your Honor. He has been here in Georgia for 7 years, and he has studied up to 9th grade. And actually, I will ask for social worker services to provide housing resources and to take a BHET, so that way we can evaluate the father. Thank you.
Bond is set at $1,000. It's a surety bond to stay away from the Dunkin' Donuts at 120 Piedmont Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. He's to stay 200 yards away from that location, including any adjacent parking lots or sidewalks. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons and firearms. And Mr. Fowler, in addition to this $1,000 surety bond, you also have a, what was it, Ms. Harrison, 3,500?
I don't know the amount, Judge. 1 moment.
I can't recall. I know I can't recall. But you do have a pretrial bond that was revoked pursuant to a pretrial bench warrant. So you will have to pay bond on that other outstanding case. For this new criminal trespass charge, your next court date is November 17. Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor.
All right, that's quite all right, Ms. Harrison. We will look it up when the jail reviews this case. All right, courtroom 2, have we concluded?
Courtroom is concluded.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Courtroom 1, I think, we had another case, or all right. So while we are waiting, if there are any other cases, I'm just going to go down the calendar and then address the 3 cases that Ms. Kim still has on Alexander, Bonnie, and Fowler.
Down to 2 cases, Your Honor. We just did Fowler.
Oh, we just did Fowler. Okay,
Yes,
you're right.
I thought he was not going to show up, but
He did.
Position,
All right.
Position 19, Robinson.
Courtroom 2, do we know what happened to Latique Robinson?
Wade.
The appearance was waived.
And
I thought a competency request.
Alexander was waived.
And so was Alexander.
Yeah. All right, so position 19, we have a waiver of appearance. Is that correct, Ms. Melnick?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and we will just address bond on that. Any other cases, Ms. Duncan?
No, that's the only one that I have left that I didn't hear anything about.
Okay, so we are going to address Alexander and Bonnie, and they've waived their appearance, so we don't need the jail for that. And we're going to address position 19 as well.
What about Walker, Judge, 22?
Okay, let's
That
see.
from yesterday, SEA counter.
Okay, so
he-
and Tavius Walker, was he addressed yesterday?
yes, Your Honor, he is actually loaned out to Cobb County, and we don't know when he's going to return. And yet Judge Mincy decided to reset today, just in case he was back by today. I guess
Does he
he's
have a
not.
bond?
No,
I requested that he be brought Monday because transport doesn't transport on the weekend.
Oh, okay. Let me just see one thing. And Tavius Walker, I can't recall whether, was he given a bond?
No, Your Honor, I was on yesterday's SEA calendar as well. He was an add-on. He wasn't in a bond at that time. That she would just like to reset it to see if we
Okay.
can contact.
So Bogle, he's going to be addressed on Monday at the C calendar?
Yes, ma'am. I requested that he be brought over on Monday.
Okay, from Cobb County?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're going to reset him to the Monday C calendar on November 7th, 2022 at 2 p.m. There are no Riverside issues as a result of this reset because he was sent to Cobb County and then he'll be transported as soon as reasonably possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good day, Your Honor.
Good day.
Oh, wait, we're going to go over the calendar. And then we
Oh,
still have
in the
Ms.
wave
Kim.
cases, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But those who are not involved in the wave cases will be released after we go over the calendar. Position 1, Adams, is a $1,500 surety bond reset November 17. Position 2 will be addressed. Position 3 will be addressed. Position 4 is Brown. Bond is 33,000. Was it 3,000? Oh, 3,500. Yeah, signature bond through pre-trial. Further notice. Position 5, Davis, is a 1,500 surety reset November 17. And we were going to bring her other case also with us on November 17. Position 6 is a 1,500 surety reset November 17. Position 7 is a $2,000 surety reset November 17. Position 8 is a $1,000 surety reset November 17. Position 9, Fulmore, is a 2,500 surety reset November 17. 10, Hayes is 3,000 surety November 17. Position 11, Jerovic is 5,000 signature bond through pretrial, further notice. 12 is Jones, 5,000 signature bond through pretrial, further notice, and we'll need conflict counsel for him or hopefully get private attorney. 13, Lane is 1,500 surety reset November 17. 14 is a 3,000 signature bond through pretrial reset November 17. No.
14 is pretrial?
No, it's
1,500.
no, sorry. Position 14 is a 1,500 surety reset to November 17. A 3,000 signature bond pretrial was surrendered from the other prior case. So that's also going to be brought over. Sorry. Position 18, Morgan, is a 4,500 signature bond. It's a $9,000 split bond, 4,500 surety and 4,500 signature bond through the jail. So it's a 9,000 split bond, reset November 17. Position 16, Fillmore, is a $750 split bond, reset November 17. Position 17, Pope, is 2,000 surety, November 17. 18 is Rainey, transferred to Superior Court. Position 19, Robinson, is I think we're going to waive that, so a waive appearance, so we're going to address that. Position 20, Sharp, is 2,000 surety, reset November 17. 21, Smith, same announcement, 2,500 short, excuse me, not same announcement. 2,500 surety, reset November 17. 22, Walker, is further reset to November 7 C calendar, no Riverside issues. Position 23 is, and 24 is a total of 8,500 surety bond, 6,000 and 2,500, both reset to November 17. So we are addressing positions 2, 3, and 19. Any attorneys involved with those cases, please remain. Otherwise, you are free to go. All right, position 2, Ryan Alexander, 22 CR 007-584H. Mr. Alexander has waived his appearance at this initial proceeding. Charged with criminal trespass, willful obstruction of an officer, theft by taking and possession or use of drug-related object from November 3rd, 2022. He's represented by attorney Ms. J. Kim. Ms. J. Kim, is your name in any way involving the word Judy?
No.
Okay, just wanted to be sure. You were confused with Ms. Judy Kim in a prior proceeding. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Kim, Ms. Harrison, what's the price of Mr. Alexander?
25 cycles with history in Georgia and Ohio. Last arrest, May of this year, for receipt, possession, or transport of firearm by convicted felon or first offenders in Hapeville. That arrest was DWAP'd under case 22 CP 209420. Record does indicate an open probation in Butts County for purchase, possession, manufacture, distribution, or sale of marijuana, 18R00266, sentenced October of 2018 with 5 years probation. Open case pending for terroristic threats, aggravated assault, and possession of knife or firearm during the commission of a felony, 20 CP 192313.
Thank you. All right, Ms. King, what's your bond recommendation for Mr. Alexander?
Due to the defendant being out on a 20,000 signature on the felony case just referenced, the state is asking for a 6,000 surety in this case. That's 2,000 for the criminal trespass, 2,000 for the theft by taking, and 1,000 on the obstruction and the possession of a drug-related object. We're also asking for no further contact with anyone associated with persons at that location, the 501 North Central Avenue in Hapeville, and a stay away from that incident location and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. The state is gravely concerned that he is a threat to the citizens of Fulton County and is a danger due to having so many violent convictions and an open violent arrest.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Brian Alexander. He is 49 years old and he's been here in Georgia for about 12 years and he has no family members. Unfortunately, his parents and other siblings will not help him. His employment has been kind of like odd jobs here and there, so it has not been stable and he does not have any stable income. He graduated from high school and he has a couple credit from college. Since he's residentially challenged, I will request for social worker services to make a visit to provide housing resources and also take the BHET evaluation to make sure that he needs any further evaluation.
Thank you. The criminal, on each count is going to be a $500 surety bond. Total bond is set at $2,000. It is a surety bond to stay away from 501 North Central Avenue in Hapeville, Georgia, and to have no contact with Randy Parker, the owner of the alleged cell phone. I don't know which one it says, the alleged owner of the cell phone. Yeah. No alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Next court date is November 17th.
Thank you.
All right. Next case is David Bonney, 22 CR 007586E, accused of criminal trespass on November 4th at a location called Becker, 600 Peachtree Street. Mr. David Bonney has waived his appearance. So we're going to proceed on the issue of this bond as well. Ms. Harrison, any priors on Mr. Bonney?
14 cycles with history in Georgia and Florida. Last arrest October of this year for simple battery with Georgia State University police. Record indicates an open probation for simple battery, 22 CR 007048E. He was just sentenced on November 1st of this year. 15 days confinement and 12 months probation. He has 1 failure to appear within the past 10 years and 2 misdemeanor conviction in 2018 for theft by shoplifting in DeKalb.
Did you say he was just convicted this year or?
Yes, November 1st of this year.
On simple battery.
Simple battery.
I see. Okay, thank you. All right. Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor. Oh.
King.
Sorry,
King.
I apologize.
King. Sorry.
Yes, there's currently a $1,500 surety in place. The state is requesting an increase to a $3,000 surety due to the facts of the case. He was already criminal trespassed from that location just last month for the same incident for busting windows out of the security booth and then came back again. This incident was also caught on surveillance camera, and this defendant also violated his probation as pretrial has already stated. So for that reason, the $3,000 surety is more than reasonable. We're also asking asking for a stay away from the 600 Peachtree Street Northeast location and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Also, no further contact with Demario Holland as well, the security guard from the location.
All right. And Ms. Kim? Kim.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Bonnie is actually 31 years old, and he does not have any income except SSI he collects because of his disability. He has been residentially challenged, so I requested social worker services to have a visit for not only resource for housing program, also have PHET evaluation to determine whether he needs a competence calendar or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Bond is set at $2,000 to stay away from the Becker location at 600 Peachtree Street in Northeast Atlanta. I'm going to put a no further violent contact with Demario Holland because Mr. Holland would have to make sure he stays away if he shows up there. Next court date is November 17th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Kim, I think that concludes your cases. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're free to stay if you want to hear about Miss Lateek Robinson, Mr. Lateek Robinson.
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Lateek Robinson is 22 CR 007589J, accused of battery and disorderly conduct, November 4th, 2022, at 970 Spring Street. And I think it's the, I don't want to misstate place. I think it was a gas station. It was
Chevron gas station.
Chevron gas station. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes, Miss Harrison, this particular case, do you have, and Miss Melnick is his attorney who has waived his appearance for initial proceedings. So, Miss Harrison, any priors on Mr. Robinson?
He has 58, that's 58 cycles out of Florida. His last arrest was September of this year for, there's a waiving sound charge. I'll add it to the chat.
A waving sound charge?
No, she's going to put a CWAC charge in the chat to you and to Miss Duncan and to me. All right, thank you.
So that was his last arrest, and it was a misdemeanor conviction, time served. He has 2 violations of probation or parole within the past 10 years, a 2018 battery on officers with violence felony conviction out of Florida. Most of his convictions are trespassing and theft out of Florida.
Okay, thank you. Miss King, is it, or Miss Duncan? Yes.
Duncan, this incident occurred, as Your Honor stated, at 970 the Chevron gas station. In this incident, the victim is, I'm going to spell it, first name WOSSENACHEW, last name WOLDERNEODHIN. Who is the store clerk at the time. The defendant is alleged to have gone into that store, which he has done on several occasions, and began speaking loudly and absurdly in the location, knocking over store merchandise. When asked to leave, he was confronted by the store clerk at that time, and he backed out of the store. However, when the clerk went to make sure that the door was closed, the defendant attacked him by striking him in the head and face. Combat ensued, and to defend his person, the victim in this case did spray the defendant with pepper spray to get him off of him. There were other co-workers in the store who witnessed the incident. Officers arrived and both parties were on scene, and the circumstances told to officers by both were in fact in accordance with what each other had said occurred, only being that the defendant said that he was attacked, which the officers inclined to believe the store clerk given the circumstances. Here we have a concern about the risk of reoffense. The clerk indicated to officers that this defendant comes in here and does these types of things all the time. And it's just that this time it became physically violent when he asked him to leave the store. We do have some concern about this defendant tied to the community. He does have 58 cycles out of Florida, last being September 2022, which was not that long ago. Given that there is a preset bond on this case, $2,000 per charge, surety, making it a $4,000 surety. The state is going to be requesting to increase that to a $5,000 surety. We're requesting a $3,000 surety for the battery, given this defendant's criminal history of aggravated violent offenses, and a $2,000 surety for the disorderly conduct. Given the facts, circumstances, and all the factors present, we believe that's more than reasonable. We're going to be asking that he have no further contact with that clerk whose name was spelled for the record. Stay away from that incident location, 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing.
Thank you. Ms. Melnick, what is your recommendation in terms of bond? 58 cycles is kind of a tough.
Right. I do have some,
challenge.
I do understand that, Your Honor. I do have some discrepancy about the facts because he had to go to Grady because he had a swollen eye.
Saw that.
Yeah,
I saw
so
that.
we would ask for I mean, any bond that's a surety bond is going to be a no bond situation for him. I mean, he is, I understand the situation. I guess we've asked for him to be evaluated, and we've already submitted the paperwork for he said but we are
I'm inclined to do a 3,500. It's 2,500 on battery and 1,000 on the disorderly conduct. If you don't have any vehement objections, that's as low as I can go, given the allegations on the warrant. And I do understand there was an altercation, but this time I'm going to go with the officer's assessment of the situation unless I have anything else different. So it's 2,500 and 1,000. It's a surety bond. Reset dates November 17th. No further contact. I'm sorry.
The reset date is not going to be December since it's going on the competency count. It's going to be December the 1st, not December, November 17th.
Are we putting it on the competency calendar then?
Yes.
Okay.
yes,
So
Your Honor, that was the paperwork I submitted. I submitted a psychological evaluation.
All right. So December 1st.
Yes,
on the
ma'am.
competency calendar. To stay away from the, I'm sorry, Ms. Duncan?
My apologies, Judge. Ms. Melnick, were you indicating that the paperwork you submitted was the competency evaluation paperwork? Did you also submit a waiver to the court?
Oh,
yes, she did. I got it.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
okay. So, moving on to stay away from the Chevron gas station at 970 Spring Street in Northwest Atlanta. No further contact with the victim. And Miss Lewis, I put the name in the chat.
Yeah, I got it off the ward.
Thank you. And no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. And he will be reset December 1st. All right.
Thank you.
All right. I believe that concludes the calendar. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, folks. You all have enjoyed the rest of the Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'll get those over to you as soon as possible, Judge.